Hi, I am not Harry Littman, who is taking a well-deserved break away from all things social media, Trump, law, whatever. I am Juliette Kayyem. Some of you will recognize my voice because I visit Harry often on the Talking Feds podcast. I am a professor at Harvard's Kennedy School, former assistant secretary at DHS, and I write and do all sorts of things in the space of Homeland Security and harm reduction. You can follow along on my Twitter or X and Threads or whatever they're called at Juliette Kayyem. And I'm a contributing writer to The Atlantic and on these same issues. Okay, so let's start with the news because that's enough of an introduction. So over the weekend, Judge Chutkan from DC, who's overseeing one of the 10,000 cases regarding Donald Trump, but this is actually the one related to the special prosecutor, reissued. It's sort of complicated in terms of its legal standing. So those of you who are lawyers, this is shorthand for saying essentially reasserted her gag order, or the court's gag order, I should say, on Trump in the election case that is presiding over her. So before the case gets started on the merits, she basically had done a gag order, had simply said that Donald Trump could not say, a limited gag order, could not say certain things. And those certain things weren't like his entire First Amendment right. He can still say 95% of the horrible things he said. The gag order was focused on essentially the administration of justice. In other words, the court proceedings, court personnel, jurors, lawyers, all of that, the people that exist to ensure that the third branch of government, Article 3 courts, are protected. And that is really important to remember because in a lot of the dialogue about this and defenders of Donald Trump, they'll say, oh, she's taking away his First Amendment rights and he's trying to run a campaign. He can campaign as much as he wants. He is not limited from saying what he feels about the Hamas crisis, or the Israeli crisis and the Hamas terrorism or the auto worker strike. That's all fair game. He can do all of his stuff, whatever he wants. This is about the language he uses regarding the administration of the judiciary. So I'm going to quote her line directly. The First Amendment rights of participants in criminal proceedings must yield, when necessary, to the orderly administration of justice. And I thought that language was really important. And it actually relates to the work I do. I'm a lawyer by training, but I don't play one on TV. I focused a lot of my work on radicalization and on incitement. You'd have to be born yesterday or pretend that you were born yesterday not to know what Trump's language has done over the years in terms of inciting violence. You could just look at the FBI numbers in terms of the increase in sort of both the sliver of MAGAism, I want to be clear, it's not all MAGA, that would turn to violence as well as white supremacy violence. And one way to think about Trump and the way I started to write about him is that Trump's greatest success to date, I think, yes, he got Supreme Court justices. Yes, they overturned Roe v. Wade, whatever the substantive argument. His greatest legacy, however, is going to be the introduction of violence as just an extension of our democratic disagreements. In other words, he has so made it a way that we talk that now everyone who administers elections to judges, to jurors, to other witnesses is the subject of his ire. And now it's not that now Trump is quite careful about the kind of languages he uses, and the court, that's why the court's language is very careful in this regard. It isn't like Trump will say, go kill Mark Meadows, his former chief of staff who might testify against him or was likely to testify against him, or even go kill this judge. It is but his statements about the administration of justice, unfair judges, jurors who don't like him, everything is robbed, everything is taken from him, that what that does is that would incite his supporters and make judges, prosecutors, and jurors more susceptible to the harassment, intimidation, and then, God forbid, the violence that Trump very well knows his language is likely to incite. So the court itself, as well as Special Prosecutor Jack Smith, highlighted in this sort of newest turn in this part of the case, the intimidation and threats that had occurred against them, had occurred against the prosecutor's office, let alone jurors and other witnesses. And so what the judge does, just again, this idea that this is somehow First Amendment implicated is absolutely incorrect in many ways. It is not about his right to discuss what he wants. It is about the court's obligation to our governance structure to ensure that it is not undermined by the kinds of threats and intimidation that surely follow from Trump's threats and intimidation. He doesn't hide them much anymore. So I just want to end with this is not the first judge to do this, or at least to recognize the special circumstance that people who are innocents or members of the court, prosecutors, judges, jurors, and witnesses that are susceptible, are likely to be a target of Trump's incitement. Earlier this summer, I wrote a piece on May 10th in The Atlantic about federal Judge Lewis Kaplan's admonishment to the jury in the E. Jean Carroll case. So this is now not related to the election. This is actually related to longstanding rape allegations, which she was found guilty of. When the court was saying goodbye to the jurors who had found Trump guilty, the judge said something rather interesting. He told the jurors that they may not want to publicly identify themselves, quote, not now and not for a long time. In that same way that we saw just happen over this weekend, that judge also recognized that jurors who put themselves out there are likely to face the kind of violence and incitement that Trump has unleashed in our democracy. So that's how I think about these cases in terms of what's actually going on, rather than his First Amendment right again and again and again. I'll say he can say whatever he wants about the Middle East, about reproductive freedoms, about automobile workers' strike, and he can run his campaign saying whatever he wants. What he cannot do, and that what is made clear, is he cannot utilize or focus that language in a way that would undermine the fair administration of justice in the United States. And that is important to remember, because while Trump's success has been, right, for him to casually extend violence or, promote violence as the natural extension of our democratic conversations, right, and our democratic norms, the way to push back is to simply say, those democratic norms deserve protecting, including Article 3 courts and our judiciary, who are overseeing the court cases where Trump is a defendant.
Hey everyone, Harry here. Hope you're enjoying the content from all the friends of our channel, great experts in their fields all. I want to thank them for stepping up to the plate while I'm away. I'll be back soon, and I'm looking forward to resuming the daily videos. Talk to you later.